The John Lebang Show has been known to make people laugh, sing, think, scream, throw things in rage, and generally lose their minds. Listener discretion is advised.
Worldwide and out to the greater universe, you're listening to the John Lebang Show.
Greetings, Earthlings, and alert the media. The banger is on the microphone. Another rip-roaring week of sonic vibrations is headed your way. From Detroit, around the globe, and out to the moon.
That's no moon. It's a space station.
We boldly go where no other show goes. And our next destination? The moon. That's right, ladies and gentlemen. China and the European Agency are collaborating on a human settlement on the moon.
That's no moon. It's a space station.
So they're finally talking about a public moon base of sorts. They're actually calling it a moon village. So we're all going to be hanging out at the church and maybe at the local community center down there, riding our little horses and carriages maybe. They're wanting to, and I actually agree with China on this one. I'm surprised the U.S. isn't involved on this one. But especially with the renewed interest in space that President Donald Trump has shown. But this moon village would be like combining the capabilities of different spacefaring nations. So they want China and Europe and whoever else, maybe Russia will get involved and we'll be left out totally. And the moon village, they're calling it, is only going to be a pit stop for further exploration into the universe. So they're going to use this, they're going to fly everybody up from the Earth to the moon probably. They're even talking about having the moon as a travel destination for holiday people. They're out enjoying themselves. Let's go to the moon. It's amazing we're even talking about this, because for a long time now the moon has been, the moon's nothing on the moon, nothing to see there, don't go there. Of course, we went to the moon way back in the 60s, and then we just stopped going. Even though I don't believe if we went to the moon, we would have stopped going. It probably turned into some military operation, some secretly funded, base up there, doing some tests, doing some space tests. And what we see on the International Space Station is just for the public to drink up, to enjoy. Because they can't do all the secret experiments on the International Space Station. I mean, when anything weird happens in space, a weird shadow, weird thing, lighter, there goes the feed. You cut the feed from the space station. Oh, mysteriously, you can't see what's going on there. That's nothing. That's not E.T. ship. That's not a secret space plane that we've been flying around the world. We're not testing anything out up here. So finally, there's a public effort, and oddly enough, it's by China and the European Agency, to have a space base of sorts where they can have a launching pad to the rest of the universe, because it's easier to launch from the moon than it is from Earth at 1/6 the gravity. I mean, if you could jump 1 inch here on the plane, let's say you can jump 10 inches here, you could probably jump 6 times higher on the moon. Of course, you'd have to wear all that bulky space stuff that they claim they wore. I'm still troubled by the idea that they flew through the Van Allen belt, huge radiation belt, and nobody got cooked. So that was good. I mean, I'm glad our astronauts didn't get fried going through the Van Allen belt. Maybe they got lucky and there was a hole in it and they can travel through it. That's going to be another thing. How do we get through the Van Allen belt to settle on the moon? And is it really our charge to go to the moon? Should we go to the moon? Isn't there more earthly bound problems that we should solve before we head out further? Are they worried that the Earth is going to blow up at some point? Are they worried that the planet is going to stop existing? Maybe the sun's going to cool off and we're going to be in deep trouble and we have to get into space somehow? Well, if it is, we should be told that, shouldn't we? Or they don't want us all to panic. Because, they wouldn't want us all to panic because they want to save their butts. And if anything like that was to happen, any earth-shattering end of the world event, we're not going to find out till it's happening. They're going to be like, you're out of luck. You are a goner. And just hopefully you have enough warning so you can do something you really wanted to do.
Oh baby.
Because there's no way that's going to ever happen, that the elites of the planet are just going to invite all of us to come on. They're like, they'll use us to build this stuff and we'll be like, wow, look at that. That's a really cool, I wonder what that's for. That's really cool. They'll probably build it in some third world nation or in China so no one can, see it. And then they'll just, whatever happens, maybe they'll take off to space. Maybe it's a giant flood and they'll have the boats. Regardless. But we're about ready to put some kind of space village on the moon. And if everything is real and we did travel to the moon and now we can settle on the moon, then I think it's a great idea. Now, would you take a trip to the moon to see the moon? Would that be worth your tourism dollars, that expendable money, to go to the moon to visit? Because I'm sure a seat on a spacecraft that travels to the moon is going to cost a pretty penny. And not only is it going to cost a pretty penny, but there are... once you leave the atmosphere, it's already bad enough that you're in a plane and you're up 30,000 feet, and if something goes wrong, you're pretty done, right? Now, if you go into space and something happens while you're out there, you're really done. Guess if you crash land on the moon, at least there's a space base there. You can hang out at the space base till the next charter flight comes to the moon, charter spacecraft. It is an amazing time that we're even speaking of these things. It used to be the cruise liner was the cool thing to do. You could go on a cruise and you could see, 3 or 4 or 5 or 6 countries and hang out for a day. If you're on a week, on a week cruise, then you could hang out for a day at each one of these ports. But now we're talking, cruises are that's blasé now. Yeah, where I went on vacation? The moon. Yeah, it was beautiful out there. We got into space and we saw darkness. It was cool. We saw stars in the distance. Couldn't see any planets because we're too damn far away. We saw the Earth for a minute. Then when we turned to head towards the moon, it was behind us and we couldn't see it anymore. So it was just the darkness of space out there. We saw a few alien ships, a few space creatures out there, E.T. was floating around. Then when we landed, we saw the flag on the moon. We got to run outside in the big suits just like everybody in the first NASA missions to the moon. We got to climb down a replica of the first Apollo spacecraft. It was fun. It was a great time. We went to the water park over there at on the peak there. Oh, it was a great time. It was the lunar experience. It's going to be a whole tourism thing. Want a new trip? Go to Mars. Go to Mars. We're not there yet, but once we get to the moon, it'll be just a hop, skip, and a jump to go to Mars. Not really. Take months and months and years to cruise out to Mars, if you can even make it. But is that where we're supposed to be spending all our money at? I'm just asking that question. Because I think of these things, it's like, should we really be investing all this money into those sort of things while we still have so many problems here on Earth? We can't get along, and if we are truly behind closed doors getting along, then all this war stuff is a show, and it just to keep us all at bay and dwindle down the crop here and there, the herd, so to speak. And now, since we're on endless wars and we can't ever finish a war, and we want to get into more before we finish the last one, you're starting to think it's just one war in itself. And this war has lasted, I don't know how many years. At least since 2001. At least since that long. Probably even before that. Probably 1990. It's global Third World War that will never end. It will continue to go and go and go until we get so weary of it, we surrender to the powers that be and grant them all the power. Please, just kill us. Forget it. Just kill us. We don't want it anymore. All this from an article I read on the Daily Mail about a moon base that the Chinese and the Europeans are planning so that we can have tourism on the moon and more science projects, and it'll be a nice transfer point to go to Mars or to Venus or to Jupiter or to Pluto or to Alpha Centauri or wherever else we can make up whatever planet or moon or black hole we want to travel to. Oh boy, folks. It's just a good time. It really is a good time. A lot of bad things happen in the planet and in the world. But when you see the nonsense that goes on, and this is, a moon base is cool. I like the idea. But when we have all these other problems, I think a moon base should be held off for a little bit. We take that money and let's fix some problems. I mean, I don't even like them taking the money. But if you're going to take the money, at least fix some problems. And don't let the problems persist for decades and years and years and years. That's all. It's a simple concept. Handle your problems that you have right now before you create new ones. Because going to the moon and building a moon base, and the first time the moon base crashes or pops or whatever, and a whole bunch of people are killed on it because the space just went in there and sucked all their air out and just killed everybody. You have everybody like grandma or whoever that wanted to go to space now floating around in space because the moon village popped. I mean, before we have that problem, I think we should fix a couple of the ones that are currently happening on the planet, because there are a lot, and we probably should focus more on them. And once we figure out all those problems, once those problems are solved, then we can worry about going to the moon and going to Mars and beyond that. Because I want to get to all those myself. But I'm a practical person, and I'm sitting here going, we have these problems that we have to deal with. All right, folks, we got to take our first break tonight. More when we return.
Don't touch that dial. The John Lebang Show will be right back.
You can bet on it, man.
Check out the new book from Derek Shelmerdine,
Rock and Roll Unraveled.
It tells the story of rock and roll from its roots right up until the mid-'70s punk.
Rock and Roll Unraveled.
Not just the music, but also the events that shape the music.
Rock and Roll Unraveled.
It includes the backgrounds to recording sessions, singles, album releases, births and deaths, epic concerts, and festivals.
Rock and Roll Unraveled.
Shelmerdine has made a painstaking effort to document pretty much every event that would prove significant in shaping popular music.
Rock and Roll Unraveled.
Purchase the book at www.rockandrollunraveled.com. Follow him at Twitter at R&R Unraveled, and look him up on Facebook at Rock and Roll Unraveled.
Rock and Roll Unraveled.
By author Derek Shelmerdine.
Available now.
If you are elderly, disabled, receiving SSI or Medicaid, and you have a medical need or require assistance with daily housework, shopping, grooming, medication, you may qualify for housekeeping at no cost. Call now. VIP Home Healthcare, 248-579-3805. VIP Home Healthcare, there when you need them. That's 248-579-3805. You're listening to the John Lebang Show.
Join the radio revolution right here.
It's better than some good Thai stick, man. Yes, I would like some too. How about this for a headline, ladies and gentlemen? New computers could delete thoughts without your knowledge. That's what the experts are warning. Now, two biomedical ethicists are calling for the creation of a new human rights law to ensure people are protected, including the right to cognitive liberty and the right to mental integrity. Scientists have already developed devices capable of telling whether people are politically right-wing or left-wing. In one experiment, researchers were able to read people's minds to tell with 70% accuracy rating whether they plan to add or subtract two numbers. Facebook, who recently revealed it had been secretly working on technology to read people's minds so they could type by just thinking. I guess there's less typos that way. But if you're just thinking and you have some bad thoughts, it's just going to pop up. You can't stop yourself. There's no filter there, isn't it? And medical researchers have managed to connect part of a paralyzed man's brain to a computer to allow him to simulate muscles in his arms so that he could move it and feed himself. They write in this little paper here, the right to mental privacy is a neurospecific privacy that which protects private or sensitive information in a person's mind from unauthorized collection, storage, use, or even deletion in digital form or otherwise. Now, why have we built such a technology? Why are there not already ethical laws against such a thing? Facebook, any of these media groups, anybody who wants to control your mind, wants to get in there so they can make it easier to type. You think that's why they want in your brain? That's the little carrot they're giving you. Oh, and it's going to make it easier to type because some blind person like myself who gets frustrated by having to type everything out to everybody just going to tap it in. Oh, yeah, that's a great idea. I don't have to type anymore. I can just think. But usually that's not, if you have to connect in, they're also connected in to you. I don't know how long I've been talking about how they've been collecting data through your phones and through your searches and everything like that. They already know you fairly well. And now they're going to be able to tap into your brain. And there's people and scientists developing tools and methods to do such a thing. All those CIA mind control experiments that went on back in the 60s and the 50s and maybe in the 40s and maybe even beyond that. All those experiments are working out real well for us, aren't they? You should really read a book called Silent Weapons for Quiet Wars. It's a really nice book about, where all this stuff began, how this stuff all started. They've always wanted into your mind. Now they have the tools to do it. And because the dumbest ones of us all, the people who don't want to do any of the hard work, want to make it as easy as possible on themselves, because even typing is too difficult. Texting is too difficult. So you can tap in your brain. And you think they would have had to do experiments, and who would actually do these kind of experiments? $50 this weekend. Come on down and let Facebook enter your mind. It's a 3-hour study. We'll see if we can make you play some cards. We'll see if we can make you tell us secrets.
Oh dear. Did I break wind?
You know, this is the part of the future that I'm not a fan of. The idea that we're going to be able to tap into people's brains, link up with them. This transhumanism, even the robot age bothers me, because we're not making robots to be servants for us to make our life easier. We're giving them brains. We're wanting to have sex with them.
This time you have gone too far.
We don't want an R2-D2 or a C-3PO. We want weird things with these robots. We want the Terminator. We want some kind of sex robot. Like we're willing to give away every bit of our humanity, all of our privacy, just to make life easier so we don't have to deal with things. Because, you know, the sex robots, these sex robots that are hitting the market and have hit the market, those are going to take the place of women for lonely guys, because the guys that don't want to ask chicks out are too scared to ask a chick out because you can't be a man. You just go buy yourself a sextrobot, because that's just better. She'll do whatever you want. She doesn't have to say no. Well, if they got artificial intelligence, they might say no one day. Guess you can't get the sextrobot pregnant. Not yet, anyways. I mean, they're coming up with the robot. Just, what was it, 3-4 weeks ago, I did a story on the robot that was menstruating, had a menstrual period. Awesome. Why we need to experiment on that, do those sort of things, I don't know. You're going to tell us it's for the betterment of mankind. It'll save some kind of this or that for women or something. I don't know. Have a robot woman. That's always a good thing, I guess. For you guys that don't want to have conversation and just want to do whatever with your woman, make her do whatever you want, I guess that's good. Forget a woman with a brain, you know. I guess the AI does have a brain, but it's going to be very, until the robots take over, it's going to be very submissive to you. It's going to do whatever you want. Are they going to have stores for the robots, the sex robots? You're just going to go into, how you see those sex toy stores every once in a while on the main roads? You'll know how you see sex robot stores would be like Best Buy. You'll walk in and be like, what sex robot do I want to buy today? Walk over and you'll have a salesman, or I guess he might. I don't know how would they have a salesman or saleswoman, because if you have a saleswoman, you might not be attracted to the sex robot if the sex woman is pretty. If you're a guy, that is. You could say women have had sex robots for a long time now. They just don't call them that. But those are like the predecessors. Those didn't have AI. They just had vibration. That was their function. As you can tell, this sort of thing like really works on me. It bothers me. I just don't understand the idea behind making technology do certain things, but I don't believe we should be building bombs all the time. I mean, as a human race, I understand the U.S. has to build bombs because the other guys are going to build bombs, and even if we don't have bombs, they're still going to bomb us. So we might as well have bombs to bomb them back. Bomb them first, maybe. Moab them to death. Those cruise missiles are getting too old. You just fire off a bunch of those. You know, all the things we could be spending money on and researching and making better. You know, cancer's not getting solved, but hey, we're going to make a robot. Hey, that'll do everything for you and even have sex with you. we're screwy as a race, I tell you. The human race there, you know. It's screwy, the things we come up with. So what do you think out there, folks? Would you tie your brain into your Facebook page so you don't have to type? Is that the future you want? You want to make life so easy? Maybe you want to just transfer your brain into the cloud, and then you can get everybody else's knowledge. You don't have to work for it. You can just download that knowledge in there. And even if you don't ever apply it, you'll have the knowledge. Because that's all, you know, if you're going to acquire knowledge, you should do it to apply it, I would think. I mean, you just don't want to acquire knowledge and just leave it sit there and then collect dust. If you're going to acquire knowledge, if you're going to study up on something, if you're going to want to learn something, then you're going to want to do it actively, right? You're going to want to participate in it. You're going to want to keep up so that you're good at it. You know what you're talking about. It's like speaking French, right? I haven't spoke French in a long time because, you know, my grandparents passed away. And so my French is rusty because I don't practice it. I acquired the French and it's getting dusty now. So it'd be nice to actually have somebody I could speak French to get my French back a little bit. Because that's nice to have a couple languages under your belt. Not a lot of people have a couple languages under their belt. Most people have trouble with English. So to have multiple languages would be, you know, really hard. They might be able to fake a word or two because this mix of cultures, you know, we've mixed words into our culture as well, and so now we can say gracias, and everybody knows it's thank you, and we can say it just gracias, and it's okay. Gracias. Bienvenue. I remember that one. Bienvenue. We can get on my whole family there if I start talking French, so I better lay off. We're up against the break. Anyways, folks.
Don't go anywhere. The John Lebang Show will be right back.
You'd be crazy to change the dial now. CRRM, CarePoint Billing Services. Their billers and managers are all dedicated to working for you to increase your profits. For more information, call CRRM at 248-579-3805. CRRM, CarePoint Billing Services.
Fans, do you need a video for your brand new song but don't have a lot of money? Then contact John Lebang. His reasonable rates, professional look, and fast turnarounds will help get that song off the ground. Contact him at jlebang.com.
And allow me to do a little bit of self-promotion. If you like what you're hearing on the John Lebang Show, you're enjoying yourself, and you're like, man, I want to hear more from this guy, then just go to my website. That's www.jlebang.com. We've got archives of the show, music for your entertainment, articles, and even videos for your, viewing pleasure. Now, if you do like videos, then you can also take a look over at our YouTube channel at youtube.com/LebangYourHead. And if you are doing the Twitter thing, then follow us on Twitter at John Lebang. And then, of course, I know you're on Facebook because the whole world is on Facebook. So look us up on Facebook and like our page at The John Lebang Show. This half hour is brought to you by Pane in the Glass Window Cleaning for a beautiful sparkling shine that's crystal clear. Call Pane in the Glass Commercial and Residential Window Cleaning. You can look them up on Facebook at Pane in the Glass.
Hey, man, it's at the bottom of the hour, man. Do you know where your kids are, man?
And welcome back, ladies and gentlemen. You know, the mainstream media is now focusing on Donald Trump's 100 first days in office. And many of the pundits on the right side of the aisle are praising his so-called accomplishments in this first 100 days. Yet, when I look back at the accomplishments, I don't see many things that are actual accomplishments. But we'll go through the list, the so-called right-wing mainstream media, what there is of it, what they think are Donald Trump's accomplishments in these first 100 days. The Dow closed. The stock market average rose 15%. 15% since the election in November. Since the inauguration, the Dow rose another 6.5%. They're all attributing that to Donald Trump. The Dow took just 66 days, they're claiming, to climb back from 19,000 to 21,000, the fastest 2,000 point ever run. And apparently that's Donald Trump's doing. I didn't know he had anything to do with that, but apparently people were so happy that Donald Trump took office that they started investing in the stock market, and the stock market took off. The USS stock market gained nearly $2 trillion in wealth since Donald Trump has been elected. And apparently that's Donald Trump's doing. And even if it was Donald Trump's doing, what is it doing for the person who voted for him? Because it wasn't Wall Street who voted for Donald Trump. It wasn't Wall Street. In Donald Trump's first 100 days, he decreased the deficit $100 billion. In the first 100 days of President Obama, he increased $560 billion. So I guess $100 billion is something in the right direction. And if we multiply that by 3, because we're going to have by 3.5, we'll say, we're going to have about a $350 billion savings if they continue. Far, 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 far beyond the trillions and trillions and trillions of dollars. $20 trillion. We're never going to get there. Even if Donald Trump continues to cut at the rate he has been cutting, we're never going to get to the $20 billion. Or $20 trillion that we need to get back into the black. Because we're in the red now. And Donald Trump's not going to be there for 20 years. He's going to be there for 4, maybe 8. They're talking 8 already. They're already going, yeah, we're going to be here for 8 years, you know. And I'm not so sure of that. Apparently, manufacturing index soaring to a 33-year high. And that's that's apparently Donald Trump's doing. So, we're kicking butt. Best we've ever done in manufacturing since 1983. And President Reagan. 298,000 new jobs were created in the first month under President Donald Trump. Though we had a interesting low number this past month. Extremely low. It should have been a little higher, being that, we had seasonal work as well coming into play. They're saying the housing sales are hot right now. And that apparently is about Donald Trump. He did that. But notice that all this stuff they're claiming that Donald Trump has done really doesn't reflect on Donald Trump and his presidency. Just because people are reacting to a new president in a certain manner doesn't make it because Donald Trump is there. We want action from Trump. We don't want residual things as the focus. Illegal immigration is down 67%, they say. But that still leaves 33% coming in. And we're supposed to shut that down. And the wall is stalled. As is everything else that was part of the campaign. All the promises. Everything is stalled. Oh, unless you take out a judge. NATO has increased their spending by $10 billion. Again, big deal. Big deal, isn't it? They're just ramping up for war. They're going to have to spend more because we're headed towards World War III if we're not already in it. So they might as well start spending now. He also has signed 66 executive orders. And there's been a lot of us who have complained about this because we didn't like it when President Obama was writing executive orders. And we didn't like it when President George Bush was writing executive orders. But we have President Obama signing executive orders, and a lot of them are meaningless, and a few of them have gotten rid of some of the Obama executive orders. So they just made them null and void, which goes to show you that the executive order is flimsy. And as soon as there's another president, and if they are of another political persuasion, they'll be able to write an executive order eliminating Donald Trump's executive orders. These aren't permanent. Let's go over some of these executive orders that President Donald Trump has signed into office, signed into law. Notifying Congress of a strike on Syria after it was reported that the country used gas on its citizens. So he writes an executive order. I'm going to bomb Syria. Okay. Dismantling Obama's climate change initiatives. Big deal. That's good for the people who thought those regulations and those initiatives were bad. I wasn't all for it myself. But so he just cancels out something that Obama wrote in. See how flimsy those things are? And they can continually be changed depending on the will of the president? Travel bans for individuals from select number of countries embroiled in terrorist atrocities, except we've got judges blocking all those, and so none of those are actual achievements because for some reason a judge out in BFE who has nothing to do with foreign policy can block something like that the president put into play. Enforcing regulatory reform. Ooh, does that make you feel good, that executive order? Do you feel good voting for Donald Trump? Getting that executive order. Ooh. Mandating for every new regulation, 2 must be eliminated. Fine. Let's hope the ones that they are putting in place are just better than the 2 they're eliminating and not just a combination of the 2 with some added stuff. You see how that can be manipulated? Oh, we get rid of 2 regulations, but this new one has all that wrapped in there, plus a few extra things. He writes an executive order for defeating ISIS. Oh, just now we've gotten around to doing that? We figured that one out? Maybe we should go back into the executive orders and find out if there was creating ISIS in one of these executive orders that we didn't see during the Obama administration. Cutting funding for sanctuary cities, right? Another executive order that is now being blocked by a judge out of nowhere. Apparently, a judge has more power to control federal spending than the president. And this is what all these Republican pundits, or the Republican cheerleaders out there, I should say, are cheering on. They're rah-rah to this. He's accomplishing so much. What the hell is he accomplishing? Have I read anything that he's accomplished that makes you just go, yeah, that's what he was telling us in the election. That's what he was telling us during the campaign. Approving pipelines. Oh, woo! Pipelines that were already pretty much dedicated to doing what they were going to do. And he just goes ahead and approves me because he was just canceling out what Obama stopped. That's probably all it was, right? Reducing regulations on manufacturers. Okay, so maybe that has somewhat affected the manufacturing market, and that has helped out a little bit in the process of us getting back some of the manufacturing. But really, when you're talking about added manufacturing, you can't do that in 3 months, in 100 days. You've got to build new plants, new warehouses, hire new people, train new people. This takes years. So any of these gains are minute, are maybe just circumstantial. How about this? Placing a hiring freeze on federal employees. Now that one I can get behind. But you see, as I've been naming these off, there's only a few that I'm even like going, yeah, that's good. That's good. How about this? Exiting the U.S. from TTP, or TPP, I'm sorry. Have we done that? Have we? Really? Well, we'll find out. He's switched course on NAFTA. Let's get into that. Now the things that have really gone bad, that none of the lovers of Trump, none of the right-wing mainstream manufactured news media wants to discuss. He's done a complete flip-flop on NAFTA. He's come out and said he's pretty much a globalist now. He's gone for, I'm a nationalist and a globalist. Mr. Trump, you can't be both. You're either for America or you're for a global community. You're either for a country to be sovereign or you're for the one world government order. That's it. There's nothing smaller that anybody's going to settle for as far as, beyond a country. I can't have my property and be a sovereign individual away from the government, away from whatever either the DC government, the city government, the state government, or a world body. I can't escape from that. So the most I can hope for is a free country away from all that. And apparently, President Donald Trump has switched sides. Now, what about those tax cuts and those tax plans? Have you read it? Well, I'm not getting a very, let's just say I'm not exactly liking the new tax reductions, or they're calling it. All they're doing is reducing rates. They're splitting us up into less categories. That doesn't mean we're going to pay less taxes at all. And that was one of those things we wanted, less taxes. Now let's get into the failed Obamacare repeal and replace. We can't repeal it. We can't replace it. We can't do anything with it because we got a garbage bill. And now they're talking, it's going to happen soon. Now again, it's going to happen soon. It's holding up everything. Well, whatever we get at this point, we better scrutinize down to the letter, because they tried to be sneaky last time around and give us a piece of turd and call it something better than the last piece of turd. And if you trust the Republican House of Representatives or the Senate, or at this point the president, and doing what's right for us little people, might as well give that dream up. In the last 2 weeks, we've seen a complete shift in the direction of the White House. And it wasn't away from the New World Order. It's headed right back into the New World Order. Anyways, folks, we're a little long here. Let me know what you think in the comment section or the chat room. And when we return, more on the John Lebang Show. Don't go anywhere. The John Lebang Show will be right back. Don't be a fool.
Powerful, epic music by Toothbox Row. Life-changing lyrics come in every style, empowering humanity to finally unlock the chains of bondage. Experience the edgy side of positive music and rock your world today. From Primal to Divine, available now at sassyalternativemusic.com.
If you want to contact the John Lebang Show, feel free to send an email to jlebang@live.com. And if you're on Twitter, look him up at John Lebang. And don't forget to go to his Facebook page at The John Lebang Show. Banger. Now here's John.
All right, ladies and gentlemen, welcome back as we are winding down this week's first hour. Hope you're enjoying the broadcast so far. As we move forward, I think we should discuss the growing tensions with Korea, North Korea that is, and the possibility that we could be heading to some major conflict. In fact, it wasn't just this past Friday where President Donald Trump and the White House said that the tensions between the two countries was at a point where it was very, very likely there was going to be some kind of military intervention between the two countries. And Kim Ding Dong over there is rattling his sabers even more than he was a week ago, as he's trying to act tough, be the guy that stands up to the American bully. I'm not sure why this is even happening. We're heading down a very dark road that doesn't need to be happening. Both the United States and North Korea should mind their own business. North Korea should just better their country, and maybe it's impossible with King Ding Dong running it. And really, the thought that North Korea can hit us, there's been talk, and they've been showing us how their nuclear capabilities and their longest range missiles can hit this part and this place over here. And they're worried that they may fire a rocket or a missile, I should say, and hit Hawaii. And I'm thinking, what strategic advantage would that give North Korea? Why would you hit Hawaii, of all places? The Japanese hit that during World War II, but we're in a different age now. It's not like the North Korean Navy is going to invade Hawaii if they were going to invade anybody. And at this point, does anybody think that North Korea is going to be the aggressor in this, as far as them invading the United States, or a province of the United States, or a commonwealth of the United States? I don't think so, and I don't think anybody else thinks that. So just because they're getting all rowdy with us, I don't think we should be all that concerned with it. They've done it before. If we stop giving them attention, maybe they'll just back down. What are they going to do? Invade South Korea? And I know we have a mutual agreement with South Korea, but isn't that their problem? Again, this goes back to Trump being a closet globalist. I mean, coming out of the closet globalist. North Korea is a bad place. Kim Ding Dong is a bad guy. And unless they strike the United States in some military fashion, what does it matter to us? Now, can they hit us? Well, there are various reports on where they can hit us and how they can hit us. And I keep thinking we've got this massive military budget. We've known we've had problems with North Korea for decades. Their missiles are failing left and right. Either they're poorly designed or we're hacking them or something. We're either hacking them or they're poorly designed. But regardless, it doesn't seem like they can hit us very easily. And even if they could, aren't we the United States? Don't we have defensive capabilities? Is the small unmanned nuclear missile too small and that it will evade our defenses? Shouldn't we be prepared for a situation like that with North Korea, where if they would launch a missile at the United States, if they would send a ballistic nuclear capable missile, whatever they might send at us, don't we have something that can shoot it down? We are the United States, and don't we spend money on defense? I understand most of our weapons are not for defense, but for offense. And that's where the military-industrial complex has misguided our country. We should have one or two very powerful offensive weapons, and that's it. Everything else should be to stop any enemy from doing whatever they wanted. And at this point, we'll know if an invasion was coming. So we're only looking at long-range intercontinental missiles. And after all these years, we can't stop one coming from North Korea? And maybe we have, because they've had 2 failed attempts. So it could be us hacking them, or it could be them just being terrible missile designers. But here we are on the verge of yet another conflict that falls right in line with the globalist agenda, an agenda that Donald Trump has recently come out of the closet on. Oh, I'm a nationalist and I'm a globalist. I mean, that's the John Kerry way of thinking, I suppose. The master of flip-flop. Next thing you know, he'll say, I'm a Democrat and I used to be a Republican. Or I'm a Republican that used to be like a Democrat. I think he's already said that, hasn't he? Let's just hope, because we avoided the Hillary. We avoided the Hillary. We stayed away from that. Let's just hope with Donald Trump we get 10 or 15% of what he promised. That's still a lot better than what would have come from Hillary. But we're not going to get all the campaign promises We're not going to get all the grand Make America Great Again. We're not going to get it. We might get 15, if we're lucky, 20% of what was promised to the American people, what the people actually voted for. It's a shame, but it looks like that's the reality. NAFTA, we're probably still going to have to deal with that. Syria and globalism, still going to have to deal with that. A form of Obamacare, even if it's Republican Obamacare, we're going to still have to deal with that. Yep. Every time I told you both parties were exactly the same and they would strive for the ultimate same goal, if you don't see it now, you're never going to see it.
John, are you ready for me yet?
Hey, Shady, come on in.
That's what she said.
Oh, here we go again.
Here we go, there we go, everywhere we go. Now let's get on with it.
All right, tonight's cool or uncool is
Trump being a chump.
It's pretty good.
I know it's good. Now will you pick up the phone lines?
Our first call goes out to Chicago, Illinois. Peppa, what say you?
As long as I get my money from the stash honeys, I don't care.
Okay, thanks for your call.
Must be not sitting home all the time and getting paid to pop out ugly children.
Well, it's the sad truth of our time, Shady. And now Trump's planning on giving people with children even bigger tax credits.
Well, that's another reason he's a chump. Just give the people who send their children to public schools bigger deductions, even though it's their kids who are going to school. In my opinion, they should pay more. It's their kid that needs the teacher. It's their kids that need the school.
Shady, can I get back to the phones, or do you want to keep ranting?
Shut up, John.
Up next, we have a call coming in from Montreal, Canada. Wilfred, what say you?
Trump this.
Okay, thanks for your call. Now over to Toronto. Gordy, you're up next.
Trump's a hoser, eh?
So that means you don't like him?
No way, eh?
And why don't you like him?
Oh, he's crazy, eh?
Okay, thanks for your call.
How is it that you have so many callers from Canada and you're not even on any stations up there?
We seem to be popular in a lot of places.
Just not your hometown, John.
Well, it is surprising that we're thriving in places like New York and Florida, but not at home.
Well, it's hard when you're preempted by nonsense all the time.
And speaking of Florida, we head over to Naples. Cora, you're up next.
Oh, Sonny, I'm sick of hearing the filth coming out of your mouth.
Excuse me, but what filth, ma'am?
Everything you say, you're an idiot.
Okay, thanks for your call.
You know, Joan, she's got a point there.
Up next, we go out to Washington, D.C. and Donald.
We're gonna build the wall. We have no choice.
Thanks for your call.
Well, there's the Trump himself.
Don't you mean chump?
That too.
So how should I count that?
Like 1 + 1, John.
1 + 1?
That's right. Drop it like a deuce.
All right then. Up next we have Sanctuary City and Abu.
Well, hello, John. I have a very good song for you right now. 1, 2, 3, 4. With the camels in the crib, John, drop it like it's hot. Drop it like it's hot. Drop it like it's hot.
Goodbye.
Shady, why'd you do that?
Nobody wants to hear Snoop Abu dropping a deuce like it's hot, John. And to be honest, I'm feeling a convulsion already. I better leave before I have a seizure. Bye.
And that's it, ladies and gentlemen, for this week's first hour of
The John Lebang Show.
I'd like to thank all of my affiliate stations, including the 3 new affiliates that have just come aboard this week. Don't forget to go to my website. That's www.jlebang.com. Thank you all for listening. And until the vibrations of my vocal cords reach your ears again, and for some of you, that's in the next hour. This is John Lebang signing off from the Banger Studios.
Tune in again next week. Same time, same space, same station.
Resistance is futile.